Well, for me, David Bronstein is not only a living legend, he is a real giant of the chessboard, but in fact, I consider David the single most inventive chess grandmaster ever. Full stop, end of story. You can say Garry Kasparov introduced a great many novelties, and he did. But I challenge our viewers to go and look at these encyclopedia of chess openings, thousands of variations, and inevitably you will see Bronstein's ideas. Bronstein, sacrifice after sacrifice, from King's Gambits to King's Indians, and all stops in between. David Bronstein has made his contribution to chess openings like no other player ever. And on top of that, the play of David Bronstein is absolutely thrilling. I think of a tightrope walker who is somehow in danger of falling, and his tactical mastery, his strategical understanding, the man is a walking storyteller. He has played in dozens of Soviet championships. He's played against world champions for decades. He knows what is what. He has strong ideas on random chess, on the time controls, on adjournments, all of these things. And I think that I find him personally fascinating. So,
have you met him?
Oh, many times. David, I met for the first time. Actually, I've got a great story. Again, excuse me for going off on a tangent, but I forget the year. It was actually in Iceland, in Reykjavik. I apologize if I pronounce it wrongly. Reykjavik, it was like a Reykjavik Open. Visa was a sponsor. And I had been chatting happily with David and so forth and so on. I was really honored. I was in my hotel room and I got a call, and David said, "Yes, sir, please come on over to my room. I'd like to show you something." So I came to his room, and Ephraim Geller was there. And Geller, his jaw was like kind of wide open. He was just staring at the chessboard. So I came in and I looked and I saw that they had this position, the Sicilian Najdorf, on the board. And David just started nattering, and he's saying, "Today I play your colleague, your countryman, Walter Sean Brown." And I said, "Oh, wow, okay, Walter's a tough player." And he said, "I want to show my great respects to Walter." And I said, "Okay, how will you do that?" He says, "I want to play the Najdorf. I want to play the white side of the Najdorf." I said, "Well, excuse me, David, but I don't think that's a very good idea. You see, I don't want to help you or confess, but actually that's Walter's pillar. That's Walter's foundation. His whole life, Walter Brown has played the Najdorf, and he has some fantastic tournament success with it, 80%, maybe more. The guy's phenomenal. You don't want to test Walter in the Najdorf." "No," says David, "I respect Walter Brown. I want to play the Najdorf, and I want this position." So I glanced at the position. I'm looking around at the position. I said, "But David, you're a pawn down." And David says, "Yes, but look at the possibilities. I love the tactics." And he's squeezing his hands, and it brought to mind the idea of somebody milking a cow, where you have these tactical problems. So I'm just laughing, and in the meantime, I'm noticing that Geller hasn't said a word. I mean, he just hasn't moved. He's kind of just staring at this with open mouth amazement at the position. So David continues talking, and I'm looking at the position, and then we're saying a few words of Russian. Geller shuffles off, and he returns to his room, and I'm just like, the whole thing is surreal. And I'm saying to David, "Well, what was that all about?" He said, "Well, I had this idea this morning. I woke up with an inspiration, and I want to make a sacrifice, so I asked Ephraim to come and double-check my analysis. And he just told me it's great." And I look again, it's a pawn down. I'm looking again. I'm like, okay, now I really respect Geller as well. Okay, Geller was a great opening theoretician. And the fact that he hadn't spoken for 15 minutes and his mouth was wide open like this. So that round began. And of course, while I'm interested in my own game, I'm paying particular attention to David's game. And I notice that Walter's late. So he comes to the game late, and he's at over, and C5, bang, he clocked. And David very, very carefully is writing down each move, and David would make a move, carefully press a clock, and like Walter would immediately jerk out the response like a blitz player would. David would. So it took David about 8 minutes on his clock and 0 seconds on Walter's clock for him, much to my surprise, to reach the very position I had seen that morning with Geller. David makes the move. Walter stops. 60 minutes later, Walter hasn't made a move. In the meantime, David is going around looking at each game, kind of deciding, like if that was interesting or not. And he goes, and he smashes Walter off the board. And I was just amazed, because I have to put this in a proper perspective for people who really don't understand this. First of all, Walter Brown, 6-time U.S. champion, one of the most celebrated kings of Swisses in the United States. He won every kind of American Open. The Najdorf is the pillar, is the foundation of who Walter Brown is and his tournament successes. Here was a 65-year-old David Bronstein who wakes up one day in the morning, scratches his butt, says, I got a great idea, and I want to show respect to Walter Brown, and he smashes him in his very own weapon, his choice. And I'm sitting there saying, how is this possible that this gentleman, and he is a gentleman, is so wonderful, so inspiring? And from an insider point of view, when I tell the story, I cannot help but give you the emotional quality of what it was like to see David just destroy a guy who had just won the U.S. championship time after time after time. And it goes to show the greatness of David Bronstein.